Alright, hello everyone, and welcome into a very cool best of 3, I would hope. As in the bottom left-hand side, our red Zerg player will be Dark, representing Dragon Phoenix Gaming, taking on the blue Terran top right Maru. This is a best of 3 from the, and excuse me while I just quickly put the health bars on, haven't casted in game for a couple of days. This is a best of 3 from the NetEase eSports X Tournament 2021 Winter Korean Server number 2 qualifier. I didn't get to cast this live because I was on a plane or in an airport traveling to the DreamHack Season Finals last week, so I was not able to cast this this qualifier, and I knew I was going to be really sad because I knew there was going to be some great players playing. So I got my good friend Inu, who is the Korean caster for a lot of this stuff, to send me over the replays of what he followed, and I knew for a fact he would follow the best matches out there, including the Maru games, basically, and he did exactly that, and very excited to see what exactly comes out of this series, and we'll basically follow through the bracket here as well, starting with this Maru Dark, and this was a double Elim bracket as well, so this is the upper bracket, like not even qualifying match, so Maru versus Dark, and then we'll kind of follow through some more Maru games, I'm sure, or Dark games. You know, either way, we're probably going to see some more Maru, because if he wins, he advances. If he loses, he's in the lower bracket. So we have a bunch of games, basically, to cast. And like I say, I wasn't able to do them live, so I'm just going to sprinkle them into kind of my between events and stuff for the next little while, and get them ready to go up on the YouTube, because I think these are obviously going to be players people want to see. We've been blessed with a lot of Maru versus Zerg games lately. He played Dark and Rogue in the DreamHack Season Finals. I had the pleasure of casting that Grand Final. So that's one thing to think about as well already, that we've seen a lot of these games, but this is not a DreamHack. This was played just before DreamHack, just in case you're wondering about the time frame. Played, I believe it was like November, I want to say November 5th, maybe November, I feel like it was maybe November 7th or something. I'm just trying to think exactly when it was. It was November 7th, yes, so exact date, November 7th, in case you're wondering exactly when these games got played out. If you are watching this on YouTube, I just want to take a chance to say hello and thank you for watching lately. The viewership has been absolutely on the up. Whatever we've changed has worked, and for now, we're doing very well on the YouTube, so thank you so much to you guys. If you do enjoy the video, do consider hitting the like button. Do consider subscribing to the channel if you don't already. Give it a check. A lot of you probably think you're subscribed, but you're not. You see loads of people in the comments all the time being like, Wardy, I thought I was sub, but turns out YouTube just recommends your videos to me every day. So make sure you hit the sub button, because it helps us out a whole bunch as well. It is greatly appreciated. So please do check that out if you're watching this on YouTube, as let's dive into some commentary. As we got this Reaper going low, but just about getting out of there. I'm just zooming in a little bit because I feel like my FPS is a little bit low, but it's actually at like 90, so maybe it's just me being a little bit silly. This looks like the game is a little choppy. I don't know if that's just me being a bit silly or so. It might be. It might just be me being a little silly. Give me a quick second, just to check this out. I mean, it looks like everything's as it should be. I was just wondering because I've recently been away and casting on a laptop and stuff, but I mean, it should just all be okay. I have casted since then, so yeah, I'm not sure. Maybe I'm just being a little bit silly. Reaper and a couple of Hellions coming through as we get started, though. We can actually start to focus up on the game and see what's happening. Fortunately for me, I've blathered on for 3 minutes, but there's not been much going on. It's a fast 3cc. We've got Hellions now on the way, Link Speed's coming up from Dark, and pretty much everything is as it should be to kick off this best of 3. Everything is basically as you would expect as the Reaper comes on through. And again, a couple of Hellions coming in as well, and there's now going to be a Marauder, so we're going to get pretty aggressive here from Maru. When you get this Marauder going, you're typically looking at a Marauder Hellbat timing. Usually that comes with concussive shells as well, so you can slow down the queens and help to kind of get those queens caught and to properly kind of take those queens down, chase them, etc. So that's usually what we're expecting to see here as the Reaper Hellion coming back down through the center of the map and just getting set up to go. As a couple of queens will sit at the front, the first Reaper going to start taking a little bit of damage. Again, there's our concussive shells with the Marauders coming through, and there's Viking already here to start picking away at the Overlord, which will now go down as well, and that's a supply block for Dark. So Dark supply blocked, just as he's trying to get some scouting information. I mean, he got to the front and he saw Hellions. That's not really great information, right? It's like, okay, well, you've definitely built Hellions. It eliminates some builds. It doesn't really tell him anything about this incoming Marauder and Armory setup. So, yes, you get some information, but not like everything you'd be kind of dreaming of. As you do see, still just Hellions, right? I mean, that lane doesn't scout much extra. And that's just because the Marauders are kept in the main base, so now you've got no way of really knowing this is happening. Melee upgrades early as well, they're not going to help for this fight, while it will help you out later in the game, because you're now going to have fast upgrades versus a Terran who delayed his engineering base to be aggressive with Hellbats. Again, a lot of this is about the here and now, and the here and now is very much so Maru has a lot of stuff, and it doesn't really feel like Dark has anything in particular to shut this down. He's making 30 lings total. I mean, that's a good amount of lings. As the Hellbats do morph in off creep, they do have to waddle forward. We're actually just going to start a clean creep initially as well, and I don't really mind that per se. Good spread on these queens. Obviously, these lings looking for their surround as the queens do get kind of hit by the Hellbats pretty quickly. The Marauders being kind of kept at the back. The lings trying to get those. As all the Marauders surviving, these queens are now going to have to try and kite away, but that's where the Marauders' Concussive Shell comes in. Stops those queens from kiting as easily. And that really just allows a lot of these queens to be caught where sometimes they would not be. So a lot of queens going to end up going down. Sometimes you follow this up with a Liberator or so, because then you obviously got rid of a lot of the queens. In this case, we're just going to continue pumping out Hellions. Some more Hellions on the way, taking away the potential of like a Hellion, a Ling counterattack that would kill you because you've got no Hellions left. This will be cleaned up, but resources lost is dead even. And you've got a third CC in position as Maru as well. So I think you're completely okay, because you've traded evenly in a situation where you're obviously you're basically playing a situation here where if you trade evenly, it's fine, because the Zerg is not able to basically make workers during this time. He's continuing to make units, and so if he's continuing to make units, well, that's not good for him. So yes, overall, this is good for you as Maru, and that's exactly where we set up right now. Just going to be seeing our Hellions being repaired up a little bit, a few more lings going down to the bottom right-hand corner. And the Baneling Nest and a Hydra Den coming down as Dark starts to reveal his plan for this game. The fast 1-1 upgrade's already in play. It kind of needs to start 2-2, keep that upgrade lead in his favor, as Maru has a 7-worker lead, though. I mean, that's kind of ridiculous, having a worker lead as a Terran player. And this is going to go pinging up the first couple of queens at the front here, and actually going to chase for potentially a kill. The Lings show up at the right time. Medevac evacuates, so no Hellions go down in the chasing of that queen, but at least the queen does get to live. 4 HP as we drop on the main base, deflected immediately. Good defense from Dark. Just worried about what it looks like when Maru starts to push with Marines that now have stim already. Combat shield's about to be done, and he's going to even out the upgrades. That's where I'm really worried. Plus a few Hellions still alive, so you can actually morph those into Hellbats as well. They can then be healed, and of course they're just a really good kind of tanky force to move toward the front as well, so something else to look at also. So Hellions morphing into Hellbats. That's going to come through, get rid of an initial creep tumor. A few creep tumors at the front starting to fall. Actually going to be in some trouble as the Widow Mines burrow up. I mean, Banelings are on the way, but they don't even have Baneling speed yet. First Widow Mine goes off on a Queen. We unburrow and reburrow. The next Widow Mine, I believe, retargeted. Yep, onto a Hydra. That's perfect. He didn't want the friendly fire to go off onto the Marines, basically, as here are the 4 Banelings that were made. Arrow kites back, target fires the Banelings as he basically just steps away, and he will just have enough to run through and win this game right here and now, perhaps, right? I mean, this is looking as though it's just more or less a done deal. As Maru comes back in, this hatchery is going to be falling. Dog is having other bases, right? He's got 5 bases total. A set of Widow Mines explode in unison to take down these queens. That's a nice little something as we do see the Marines just continuing forward. A couple of Banelings going off. I mean, that might help to clean this up for now, but again, I feel like at this point we're already just talking about extending the inevitable, which is that Maru is going to overrun you, because he already is kind of overrunning you. It's just not enough to end the game just yet. That wouldn't mind. Maybe you could argue that that one could have been refocused onto the Hydras, but not the biggest of deals. Maru is just focusing on his macro. His units are continuing to stream across the map. And this first game definitely feels very well under control for himself as Marines and Widow Mines making their way down to the bottom side here, and in they come. Going to get a couple creep tumors. Widow Mines burrowing up. Just going to connect onto a Hydra there initially. These Lings continuing through, but the Marines will continue to trade out without issue. And it just look as though, again, I mean, just Maru keeping up the pressure. If Dark can hold on long enough, is there any way? I mean, he's got 2-2 versus 1-1, so he's got a little bit of an upgrade lead. That's one thing we could argue right now, I guess, but I mean, when that's the only real benefit we're talking about here, and 2-2's halfway done for the Terran, it's not exactly like Dark's on his way to 3-3 as well, right? It's something that's going to fade away very quickly, and then this really is all about Maru. And then you really do have a problem on your hands as these medevacs load up. A couple of Widow Mines just left behind as well. You never know when they get a really cool connection. Yeah, I mean, this just looks as though Maru is continuing to run away with this first game, guys. Not really much else to add. I think this one is definitely basically just being summarized by the fact that this is going to be that. As Widowmine goes off for good feelings, even more Widowmine's going to burrow. Honestly, there's only 3 Banelings here. More mines than Banelings is generally not a good sign, as the Marines do split backwards, don't let the mines help the Zerg out too much. 2-2 now starting to finish as well, helping a lot against the Lings, which was probably the one reason they weren't doing better than this before. Running over here, if we stim, I mean, these are just Hydras. Hydras don't have attack upgrades either, so they're just not doing a lot of damage to these Marines. Plus the healing, and Maru really does just have enough to close this one out, and to call this a victory in map number 1 of, again, our best of 3 to start off this series, or this kind of coverage of this qualifier we didn't get to cast live. So Maru gets a 1-0 lead over Dark. And we can hence go straight into game number 2. Just like that. I just realized I have the ESL logo on the top right, guys. Let me just turn that off quickly. We'll need that on later today. I guess that's because we did an ESL Open Cup on Wednesday. That's why I'm not expecting to see it there. There we go. Alright, so map number 2, and in the top left-hand corner, our red Zerg player will be Dragon Phoenix Gaming's Dark. He is down 1 map in this series, looking to bounce back here on Berlingrad, as in the bottom right-hand corner, our blue Terran player from Team NV, we do have ourselves Maru. The second game of this best of 3, just as we start off without any proxies or anything, I just want to quickly mention, because I feel like it's been a while since I mentioned this on a YouTube cast, forgive me if I'm incorrect, but I don't believe I've mentioned the Patreon page in a little while, so just a quick mention to that. If you guys are enjoying the YouTube content a lot, one of the great ways to support if you're a YouTube watcher is Patreon. You can pledge monthly, or you can just kind of pledge once then cancel or so. And Patreon helps us to keep on running tournaments. So while this isn't one of my tournaments, basically 100% of what you pledge on Patreon does go into WardiTV tournament prize pools. And like I say, while this isn't one of those, we do run basically plenty of tournaments. There's a lot of WardiTV events that happen again and again and make up a lot of our YouTube content. It just helps us to keep on streaming and filling the gaps when there's not major events going on. So yeah, want to check that out? That's patreon.com/WardiTV. Again, 100% of it goes towards tournament prize pools, which is always amazing. So do consider checking that out. Like I said, it helps us out a whole bunch. SCV is on a real journey to the upper left, to try and just get an idea of what is going on, perhaps. And just scouting out, just double checking it is a hatchery first, of course. That's very good information to have. You want to know it's a hatchery first rather than anything else, of course, otherwise you might end up in some trouble. Now we follow this Reaper away to the upper left-hand side as well, so following our Reaper to the top left and seeing what this can get up to as we come straight in, looking for a drone kill. Obviously, a lot of the time you just hit the Lings because the drones are going to be able to become a Spore Crawler or so and save itself. That one does not, though. Maru loops back around and gets the kill. Nice pick off from Maru. Not bad to get a drone kill early. Now looking for 2. He's going to try and grenade it, but it doesn't become a Spore either. And, well, Dark is now down 2 drones. That's not meant to happen. And this Reaper does have an escape route planned. Wow, 2 worker kills right away, and that is fantastic stuff. For a Terran player, I mean, you can't really complain about that. That is, I mean, beyond expected. 1 drone is usually like a, ooh, he lost a drone, yikes kind of thing. But 2 drones? Well, that's actually just really poor early game control from Dark, because usually these are savable. Yeah, just not really usually an excuse to lose them. I know Maru's got good Reaper control, but Dark's meant to have good Reaper defense as well, right? So yeah, 2 early game drones, we'll see if that has an impact. If Maru was to do something like very aggressive, that hit very soon or so, then that might have a larger impact. I mean, Dark's just going to drop down his Roach Roar. Now, Dark does like to play Roach-based openers a lot of the time. He likes to do a lot of these Roach openings and stuff like that, so we'll see if he's going to keep to it. As we have the hatchery about to finish up. Viking on the way, a couple of Hellions on the way out as well. And Maru is just going to start to take those out across to the upper left side of the map. So away they will go. 2 Hellions and a Reaper making their way up to the upper left. Just going to come through. That's a creep tumor that goes down. That's a nice catch as well right away. You already grabbing a creep tumor and so on. That's definitely a nice little something as a Viking on the way out from Maru. And this Overlord just moving in overhead as well. And again, just watching our units, see if they can find anything else early. No drones on this third because we're already building a few roaches. Now, it's not a ton. It's just 4. Now 6. Now, that's a little bit more concerning. Initially, I wasn't too worried, but 6 roaches just start to kind of edge towards that kind of level of like, uh-oh, are we really going to be aggressive here? Maru's building a Banshee, though, so 3cc into Banshee, this is going to help a lot against the roaches. He's got a good economy set up, and he's going to see the roaches now as well. So now you also know where to send the Banshee, which is very important. Your Banshee's not just going to be like massively out of position or anything. We lose a Hellion grenade to try and buy a little bit more time, but I do like where this is actually going for Maru because, yeah, Hellion goes down, but otherwise looking great. This Viking has 2 kills as well, as Dark is finding himself multiple times in a supply block due to losing Overlords. Now these few roaches are just going to waddle forward into the natural. I mean, there's just a lot of units here. Straight up, I mean, the Viking lands. I mean, yeah, there's just a lot of units here. Plus the Banshee, which can chase these roaches down. Yeah, that's a really easy cleanup. And these initial roaches kind of feel a bit silly from Dark. Sometimes, I mean, this style is really hit or miss. And he likes to play the roaches a lot. He starts up 6 more. Now the Lai's on the way from him as well as he thinks about a future in this game. But, I mean, 6 more roaches, it's a lot of units. He's afraid somewhat of maybe just an attack. But yeah, Maru has 1-1 upgrade starting, 2 extra barracks just landed. He's going to morph his third base into position as well, and away we go, basically. Away we go. The 1-1 upgrades of Maru well underway at the moment. Just going to be seeing our Banshee edging around that left-hand side, trying to figure out exactly what it wants to get up to here. This roach is going to start attacking the front. Marines do get here right away, turning the roaches around just a little bit. 2 Hellions firing, a depot goes down, and our Marines will stim in. 1 roach, 2 roach, 3 roach, and more. Yeah, I mean, all these roaches just die, so now you don't even have these roaches up defensively. And we really got to start hating this for Dark, right? I mean, okay, his drone count's looking good. It's decent, right? 13 worker lead against a Maru who has got his third base now landed in position. It's alright, I'm just worried about where everything else is going. A Viking's going to start finding some Overlords unless these Queens can turn it around convincingly. I don't know, third Queen from the side. Maybe he could have committed. He'd rather keep the Viking alive, though. It just feels like this is a Maru steamroll at the moment. He has just started moving, and he just will not be stopped at this rate. As the double medevac is going to lead up to the top side of the map now. Going to be aiming for this 12 o'clock hatchery, so that's going to be the next plan. As Marines, well, they're going to unload once again out into these medevacs, stimming forward. Playing Roach Ravager in a little bit of trouble. The Marines are now starting to boost their way towards the main base, and just going to be annoying, right? You're playing against Roach Ravager. There's not a lot of anti-air bar queens, so start testing the waters, start pulling those queens around, start getting some damage done for yourself. That's basically where this, what this brings you to. So yeah, the Marines and the medevacs having an okay time for now, clearing out some creep spread with this Banshee. We'll get just a little bit more creep killed off over on the right-hand side. As there comes 2 more medevacs loading up. They're going to go out to the left. Now this Banshee working its way through a hatchery. Trying to just deal a little bit more damage at the moment. Medevac's just unloading on this left, and obviously will have the potential to go through and clean out some creep spread. So Maru staying very active with his units, obviously coming through and already working his way up this left-hand side. Actually didn't even scan for the creep. He's just going to run right into the Roach Ravager. I really thought this was a real creep clearing moment. Clearing the creep up the left a bit. This creep in the center is looking okay. Maru's still building tanks. He's up against roaches. He knows what he wants to do. Infest is coming up from Dark, and a Hive and a Hydra Den. So Dark really is going to try and make a play toward Lurkers. Let's see a couple of Infestors coming through. Again, those Ravagers continuing out. The Ling's starting to surround, killing off those rocks. Up the left-hand side we go as a couple more creep tumors continue to be picked away at. And continuing in. Just a few of these Lings continue to be picked away at as well. Roach Ravager continuing forwards. Again, I mean, we finally got the creep. I am a bit worried about this creep because, I mean, this creep's nice, but do you end up really pushing into anything here? I mean, I guess the natural, but that's not really somewhere you focus on. Usually you're trying to take down the external base. Maybe it keeps you from taking this base at the same time as the right side as Dark, and that is something. I like this. He kind of stands and fights for a few moments until he's like, okay, now I've lost so many units, I am at a point where I can escape with maximum supply in the medevacs. Rather than just lifting immediately, he just basically got a little bit of an extra trade out before he lifted and left there, so I like it. You know, those units were going to die anyway, so may as well get a couple unit kills and maximize the kills they get in that little bit of a build-up, so yeah, liking that a lot. There's a couple of Vipers are continuing through. Look, Dan is on its way down as well. On the right-hand side, we lift up once more as the medevacs will evacuate a few more units away. And just going to be seeing our Lings, Roaches, and Ravagers now going to come in, surrounding this set of rocks. Clearing that up a little bit as the one Ling going to continue through on the planetary forest that's morphing. Maru, good aggression around the map, but it's all with the bio units. You know, he's got a really good tank count that's been building up that's just not being utilized at all. And that means he's not really using one of his real strengths against Dark's army. And yes, if you bring the tanks, you're less mobile, you've got a siege and then unsiege, etc. But I really believe that this means that now Dark gets a chance to max out. Maybe Maru doesn't care because he just says, you know what, you max out, I max out, and I've got a better army once we're maxed. But, you know, the tech is there. There's a couple Infestors available, the Hydra Den is up, the Lurker Den is ready, the Hive is done, Adaptive Talon's even on the way initially, so going for the initial kind of the weirdest setup, I guess. Adaptive Talon's allowing you to move the units, so they'll move the Lurkers and burrow them around faster. It's good defensively in a way, but obviously usually the Lurker range is the more powerful setup. It's good to be able to kind of go one way then the other, knowing that you kind of have a bit of back and forth happening, so maybe that's why we aim for the Adaptive Talons initially rather than what is typically the Seismic Spines, the Lurker range. I think that's where we're at right now, as those Lurkers do burrow up on the left side. Now Seismic Spine starts. And Maru looks as though, I mean, he's already on his way to go, so he's accepting that he's going to end up playing against Lurkers here. So, knowing he has to play against Lurkers, don't think he's overly concerned. A little bit of bio will just stem forward, and that's a good amount of creep that's already being worked through. Picking off some of the creep spread out in the center. Now these Lings trying to run forward. Well, a lot of the bio units still here. They're going to stim and turn and fight. Roach Ravager taking a ton of damage right away. A lot of these Roaches being picked away at dodges that fungal growth. For the most part, obviously clips a couple units, but not everything, so that is fine. And Maru is still just healing up more units out on the left-hand side here as well. As we come up, clean out a couple more Lings, and slowly making our way towards the upper right-hand side. Oh, that's a massive fungal, though. And the Corrosive Bow follows up, and another fungal. Means that you can't lift those units into the medevac, so you kind of just have to stand and fight. Okay, Maru being forced to trade out a little bit. Resources lost still in his favor. That's fine. Obviously, Dark taking this as a chance to rebuild into more Lurkers, so he's absolutely changing what he's doing as time passes by here. As Medevac's continuing down the right side, escaping away. Of course, needless to say, Maru has 5 bases, right? His economy's just been progressing brilliantly. As he scans here, he realizes, okay, that's a crap ton of Lurkers. That's something I have to be worried about. A few bio units unloading once again down into the center. We're just going to stim on forward here and get rid of a couple of Crypt Tumors again. So picking off those as our bio Ghost Force makes its way up the right-hand side. The Banshee coming along. Just going to be seeing Maru continuing up the right as he will have some snipes available to help out with these Lurkers. Ling's going to charge in initially. Tanks were not sieged here to begin with. The Ghosts do well against the Lings as the snipes just line up on anything they can see. And there are only a couple of Lurkers here. Doesn't do well to keep Maru pinned back. So this top right base will go down. Fortunately, only 3 drones that will get picked off with this if Maru even bothers chasing over to the corner. But now he's probably happy with the base. Looks like he wants to get some of the creep spread as well. Really make this base disconnected from the rest of what Dark is working with here. As Dark does have some Lurkers to hold this choke and to stop Maru going further forwards. Again, more than anything, this has just been creep clearing. And I like that. Keep this base away from Dark, and then it means Dark kind of has to focus down here where he doesn't have creep either. It's kind of funny because as long as the creep doesn't get too much further forward in the center, you can really rotate up here from your base, rotate over here, and into here from your base. And I think that's where Dark's going to run into trouble, that the bases he takes from here on out are always going to be close to some of the bases of Maru, and Maru is pretty much always then going to find some value during that as well, so Yeah, that's what we're kind of looking at the moment. Is just going to see our units heading down the left side. Flings taking a bit of damage. The Lurkers burrow up. I mean, we get a cloak on the Ghost, but then the Overseers arrive. Starting to snipe some of these Lurkers. Maru will just continue forward. He is just going to go straight into this. My goodness, it's kind of a massacre. Holy cow. That was an absolute bloodbath. Look at the destruction. Do we even have... Oh, sorry, guys. Shit. Sorry, I'll explain what I try to do. I try to press Shift B in case this is hosted in the, the Observer Plus mod, where you get the battle report that tells you how much died in the previous fight. But obviously B is bound to back in the replay, so just rewound 10 seconds. So I apologize, that's me pressing a dumb button at a dumb moment in time on a mode that isn't set up. I was just wondering how much died in that exact fight, because both players lost a crap ton of units. So apologies for that, that's just me being silly for a moment or so. Maru continues to push forward though. Up the left, the Lurkers are going to come through. The Ghosts pull back a little bit. The Lings running in. These Liberators left and honestly doing okay. They will be picked off. Ghost getting a snipe on an Overseer. You know, I can't remember who I was casting with, but was it maybe Lambo? And we talked about, I think, Hero Marine, who was sniping some Overseers down in a game. I think we casted, it must have been from like maybe the European League. And Lambo was telling me, it's like, it's crazy how effective Gabe is at sniping Overseers, because Overseers are expensive, and they take away the detection and maybe allow the Ghost to do more. And Hero Marine, he was just saying, Hero Marine's been really good at consistently doing that. And since then, I've really noticed how many Terrans are good at doing this. And it really feels like it's very important, because Overseers, they cost you a good amount of gas. You got to rebuild the Overlord. It's not cheap to have an Overseer, and it is effective at removing that detection, so it can turn things in your favor as well. I thought it was just really cool how that was actually really kind of a substantial, noticeable difference. And once someone just pointed, it seems so simple, right? Like, I'm sure I've watched 1,000 Overseers be sniped, but now I'm like, wow, it's really, that's really kind of like something to note, just how annoying it is for the Zerg to keep replacing those repeatedly. And I mean, in this game, not going to press the wrong button this time. We've only lost a couple, but we'll check in on that maybe 10 minutes down the line and just see how many Overseers have been killed and how effective that is for Maru in terms of just working through that resources loss, which he wants to keep building in his favor. So far, doing a good job of it. Using this nuke to clear the way. Obviously, nukes, Maru's been using them a lot as a way to kind of push the Lurkers back, right? Yeah, it kind of hits the stack defense and stuff and bits and pieces like that, but if you can basically just clear the way with the nukes, you basically kind of create opportunities like this where units can stem in. Uh-oh, massive counterattack from Dog. He's going to go across the other side of the map, so away we go. Lurk is going to burrow up, and this means that Maru's bases are going to be in some trouble. This planetary fortress is going to go down. I was going to see a lot of these Ghosts got hit by a couple Lurkers, it seems, but now getting their snipes off to clean up a lot of this. The Lurkers continuing to fight back once again. Trying to make our way up this ramp. Planetary Fortress is going to actually do decent against the few Hydras there initially. Liberator is showing up here. Here come these Ghosts, still getting some snipes off. I mean, we are just going to try and spread out and continue to fight this. The tank comes through. I mean, Maru loses 2 bases. He kills 1 on the left side, but he's lost 24 SCVs. It's been very expensive for Maru as he gets rid of some of those Overseers at the end here. I mean, again, you look at what's lost resources-wise. It's about a 10,000 difference still, but now Maru loses 2 bases that were mining comfortably. And again, you only get rid of 1, and yeah, okay, Dog's kind of more limited on bases anyway. This basically resets to 4 bases each, which is good for the Terran. Don't get me wrong, I just wonder if, again, it resets to a point which is good, but you were in a very good position or a better position before this anyway. Cool play from Dog, because I think he knew fighting straight into the army was not going to work. But fighting into this army now, fighting into the other base really allowed him to get a lot more done than he would have otherwise. I think that's the kind of game that Dark has to play. Maru has an additional planetary here just to help him out. Once again, we're playing the counter-attacking style here from Dark, going across the map. These lurker counters are absolutely ridiculous so far as... Man, he's going to come through for a bunch of SCVs again. This hatchery topside will also go down. A couple of Lings picked away at. I mean, now you're going to lose the bottom left. Maru suddenly is going to be knocked down to what? Well, his natural's already moved, so he's got a 3rd base and a main base. Oh my goodness, Maru's economy is going to be completely removed from this game, but he has a huge army supply to maybe counter with. I mean, this is kind of ridiculous, actually. He's got 23 SCVs left on the map. How quickly Dark has been able to turn the tables in this game. Pretty freaking crazy. If I'm going to be quite honest with you, pretty freaking crazy. Tank on siege as we move back over the right-hand side. The other tanks will siege up. Missile turret at the front. Lurkers and Vipers continuing through as our other Overlords continuing up as well. We do just spread out as our Medivacs, Ghosts, tanks, etc. all coming around. A couple of these libs will get sieged. And again, we do have those Lurkers in sight. Doesn't look like anything too special about that just yet, though. A couple of Infestors coming through. The Hydras are still coming out. All of this still continuing in. We're going to take a hatchery in the bottom left-hand corner. A bit more group spread still kind of pushing out at the moment. I mean, Maru is re-establishing, but these are all orbital commands, so none of these bases are immediately secure, and that's why he's taking a much more defensive stance. Tanks are staying here, libs are staying here, he's not moving out on the map. Massive army supply lead, but doesn't want to make use of it because he knows perhaps that it's just not going to end the game, and if he's not ending the game, he's still in serious trouble. Now, keep in mind, Dog just got this base back online. It's not like he's had a perfect economy throughout this either. If you look at the income graph, you can see it's even Maru in the income advantage. As Dog, again, just not getting these bases online. Loses this one again. Reset down to 4 bases. He will re-expand to the bottom left-hand corner. That's going to be somewhere Maru will focus on, I'm sure, as he will work his way forward from this base. All these Lurkers lying in wait, hoping to catch a decent chunk of Maru's army if he moves out unexpectedly. As for now, nice of Ducks. It's a full medevac. No, the full medevac gets away. Well, he actually doesn't because he gave up on it. He gets the medevac out alive, but he actually started to unload the units. Yeah, units move out over here. This base goes down. Dog being kept onto his original 4 bases means he only has 1 full base mining. Actually, was this base his original 4th? I think it might have been. So, 1 fresher base, basically, from Dog right now, and the rest very heavily mined already. That's where we currently stand. Neural Parasite coming up on the Infestation Pits. A lot of this Ling Hydra Lurker moving back around the right side with the Vipers as well. And we are just set up across the bottom side with Maru. And he has a couple fresher bases. Dog will now take the upper right, but Maru is already on a march and try and make sure that's not going to happen. It's crazy how this game turned and changed a lot. Again, you look at the units lost here. Only 4 ghosts went down so far, and 40 lurkers! When you talk about efficiency, Maru definitely has a lot of that. Straight out of a good amount of bio and tanks and stuff, but yeah, that's pretty mental. As double parasitic bomb, these medevacs are doomed, so we'll just trade out for whatever he can get, which includes a fair amount of drones. It's not like Dark is working on an amazing economy. 64 drones after these few go down. Harry even target fires 1 more down. He really wants to seemingly prioritize the denial of workers here. And obviously maybe targeted that one because he knew it was the closest drone to maybe getting back to building his hatchery. That could also be a factor. As we move up the left, we're just going to come through, and a few of these creep teamers already being cleaned out. So a lot of creep spread being taken away. We scan once again. A lot of this creep continues to go down. These few Zerglings move forward. The medevacs will lift up. They're going to boost back down to the south side. Oh, he actually sees these lurkers now. That's, what did he see? Oh, was that actually just changing the shot at and it hit the lurkers? Now, these lurkers are still on hold position, so they are absolutely hoping to catch a decent chunk of Maru's army all at once here, if at all possible. That is the current goal. Ling, Hydra, Lurker, Infestor. And a few of those Infestors burrowed up, of course. We'll see what effect they can have further in the game. The creep spread now, pretty amazing from Dark. Still worried about 60 drones, struggling to get bases up. But I mean, it feels like that's starting to stabilize here too, as Maru's not really on the map anymore. And it feels like Dark has enough here and there to actually guarantee his bases go online. This Lurker didn't start firing soon enough, and so these SCVs will just be... I mean, they'll probably still be in some trouble at some point here, but this could have been worse. We actually dive onto the bottom right side, so Dark didn't deny a base from Maru. Will get SCVs along with this, 17 of them. And Maru needs to kind of hold this position to some extent, because if you don't hold this ramp, you are in some serious trouble due to the fact that obviously then your production is basically camped. This Lurker down here does get denied, so he got a few extra kills before it went down. Love that he waited basically for this attack to happen, then he let this Lurker fire. And we still just have our Lurkers here that have yet to make a play. They are still waiting out for their moment to shine in this game. Those Lurkers will burrow up once again, and Bio Army, for the moment, rotating out towards the right-hand side. Looks like he wants to get turret up over here, and He's got decent sensor tower coverage apart from this pathway down, so that's going to be his problem, making sure he can keep track of the army on that right side. It'd be unfortunate for Doc if he can't actually make use of these lurkers. Okay, in the end, he actually just lets these lurkers start firing. He's like, okay, I'm going to move them forward. I'm going to kill a couple tanks off. He's going to use them now as just a counterattack. Obviously, Maru wasn't moving up the left, so he never got to really use the whole position surprise. But yeah, I mean, at some point, you got to make use of them, right? And if the entire army's moving to the right, that's obviously an opening on the left. So yeah, it's a good chance to at least say, hey, let's give it a go. Let's see if we can make something happen there. A lot of Liberators moving forward as Maru pushes this right-hand side. EMPs on the Vipers gets all of the energy off of them after a couple of abducts went off, so that's dealt with as this Lurker is going to be dancing around a Liberator as well, so that's going to be a funky few moments as more Lurkers showing up, and these SCVs on the left side will be in some trouble as they get back to mining, and now the Lurkers are kind of fighting against the Planetary. It's a little bit weird, but the Planetary is actually doing okay. We'll need another scan, and at the moment the SCV is not repairing. That one Lurker gets to the back. Again, Lurker's dodging the Liberator. Snipes lining up on the right-hand side too. We hit EMPs on the Infestors as well. And the Ghosts are going to cloak. Only one Overseer inside. If we can get rid of that, that would be amazing. He doesn't get it just yet as we stem forward. There's a Viking or two. There go the Overseers. There goes detection. I believe there's no vision on the map right now for Dark. He's got two Overseers, but I don't know where. It's not with this army. And that's a problem, as bottom left, this planetary fortress now finally does fall down. As we continue to move up, a couple of these Libs are going to start sieging. These Lings are going to start running in. EMPs on the Infestors again. The Libs are going to get rid of the Infestors too very quickly. And the Vikings just picking their way through Vipers. Oh my god, both police players. Supplies at 130-ish. Maru on 21 SCVs again, but a massive army supply. That seems to be always the case. He has basically no workers left, but he always has an army to move forward with, and this time he really is moving forward with it. And I think Dark's lost too much of his tech units, or too many of his tech units. Is now in this very, very weird place where, I mean, this base mine out as well. He's just going to give up this side. He needs basically spellcasters back. Vipers need energy. The Infestors need to come back online. He needs Lurkers. He doesn't have any right now. He's got one on the map, morphing to more. Maru's army, I fear, is unstoppable at the moment. Just going to move our way over to the left-hand side, then swinging through the center of the map. We've got this Ling Hydra Force thinking about where it wants to go. A couple of Ghosts going to get rid of some of the creep spread here as well. The Liberators still making their way to the left-hand side as the Lings and the Hydras move on through. Missile turret will go down. The tanks firing up a storm. Again, to the left we head as we do see our Liberators already sieging up. Our army will stem up into this base as well. It's just going to pick that off pretty much immediately. So this hatchery will go down. A bunch of those Broodlings fallen, a couple of Infestors pressing forward a little bit as well. Just going to see our Lings still running out over this right-hand side, again on top of these siege tanks, and these tanks trying to fire. A couple of Hydras fallen here. Ghosts continuing through. Dark just doesn't have enough units, man. Maru just has so much toward the end here. Ghosts everywhere. I mean, it really was apparent that, A, the resources loss was getting out of hand. You just see this army, like this fight here a couple minutes ago. Dark just losing so much, basically just can't stop the Ghost. He's getting sniped like crazy. And Maru's army supply was consistent. He barely lost a major fight for a long time. And Dark did a great job of evening out the game with some of the counterattacks and stuff, right? And just denying bases, but he was just never in that super comfortable position himself. It's not like he denied Maru's base and still had the entire setup himself. He was also just struggling along in this game, and that's definitely the deal breaker here. That is going to be GG's. Maru gets the 2-0. He moves on to the next step and the next match of this qualifier. Again, if you watch this on YouTube, don't forget to like and subscribe, and we'll see you guys on the next upload. GG's.